This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Welcome to the Thursday Twilight Show with me, Chris Eve Robinson, and my co-host, Mo Watsley. It's our first show, and today we're going to focus on beyond the classroom. So we're going to have a look at extracurricular and supercurricular activities and the issues around that.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
And welcome to this afternoon's show. As I said, it's our first show between me and Mo, co-host. Mo, welcome. How are you?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Our show, we're going to be focusing on beyond the classroom.
Hi, secondary school teachers. We're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculums. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
Did you know that every year, half of disadvantaged children who are top attainers at primary school don't go on to achieve top GCSE maths results? At Axiom Maths, we exist to change that. Our fully funded program helps schools nurture young mathematicians through weekly face-to-face maths circles, where pupils tackle challenging and exciting problems outside the national curriculum. With just under £3,000 annual funding, expert training and quality resources, we give schools everything they need to inspire the next generation of mathematical thinkers. Want to make a difference? Visit axiommaths.com today and join over 400 schools delivering math circles across the UK.
Meet 2025 BET Award winner Kialo EDU, the 100% free tool for thoughtful, inclusive classroom discussion. On Kialo, students contribute instantly and simultaneously to create an interactive map of a discussion, deepening their subject knowledge and enhancing their critical thinking skills. Set tasks, track participation, and provide personalized feedback in just a few clicks. And since it's compatible with all your favorite LMS platforms, it slots seamlessly into your existing workflow. Over 1 million educators and students are already using Kialo to make the world a more thoughtful place. Join them today at kialo-edu.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out! Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading!
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
Website The Conversation features details of new research which suggests that parents may not play a role in the development of maths anxiety amongst their children. Existing research indicates that maths anxiety is present amongst pupils in their first years of primary school, and that it interferes with maths learning and performance. This new research, conducted in collaboration with 3 universities in Italy and Loughborough University in the UK, looks into the role parents play in the development of the anxiety. The research followed 126 children from Italy from the age of 3 to 8. Assessing their maths skills and their level of maths anxiety at key points. Parental maths anxiety was measured at the start of the study. The results indicate that having a parent with higher levels of maths anxiety did not make it more likely that their children would also have it. This is different to general anxiety. However, the research did show that children of parents with maths anxiety did less well at maths. In preschool children's numeracy, skills were lower if their parents were more anxious about maths, and those children continued to have lower maths attainment by the age of 8. But, unlike reading, where research clearly indicates that parental engagement with it increases children's level of skill, maths is more complicated. Sometimes parental involvement made things worse. Other things like playing number games and counting had minimal effect. Full details of the summary of the research can be found at theconversation.com. In related news, maths appears in a story from the Monmouthshire News, which says that the new research indicates that 71% of parents in Wales couldn't pass Grade 4 GCSE maths. When given a sample question, a survey of 2,000 parents and carers found that only 21% got it right, with 34% admitting they didn't know the answer and 37% getting it wrong. The results came from a survey conducted by Flash Learning, and it also showed that 65% of parents believe supporting their children with GCSE homework resulted in them needing to do their homework first. 57% of Welsh parents also believe that they would fail the exam if they sat it today. The Mail Online covers more reaction to the Netflix drama Adolescence. This time it is comments from Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson as she called for more male teachers to provide strong, positive male role models. Speaking at the inaugural Festival of Childhood in London, Phillipson said boys needed to be raised with the strength to reject hatred being spread online. She echoed recent warnings from former England football manager Gareth Southgate and police chiefs who have cautioned about the impact social media influencers can have. The festival was hosted by Children's Commissioner Dame Rachel de Souza, and Miss Phillipson spoke at length about the dangers of disinformation, toxic role models and hatred, and stressed the importance of thinking analytically, weighing up arguments and reasoning. Ms Phillipson did acknowledge that the responsibility does start at home with parents, but added, "I want more male teachers, teaching, guiding and leading the boys in our classrooms." The BBC covers the judicial review of the government's policy of adding VAT to private school fees. Barristers representing Chancellor Rachel Reeves, HMRC, and the Department for Education said private school parents paying their fair share would help raise standards for children who attended state schools. The judicial review was brought by 3 separate groups, including parents of children with special educational needs and disabilities and low-paying faith schools. The groups claim the policy is discriminatory and incompatible with human rights law. Full details of the story can be found on the BBC News website. The hearing decision is expected at a later date. Finally, BBC Breakfast covered the opening of an exhibition at the Food Museum in Stowmarket, Suffolk, which offers visitors the opportunity to sample semolina, pink custard and turkey Twizzlers. The showcase of school dinners through the ages from the 1940s to the present day will help visitors learn about the history of school meals policy. The museum's director, Jenny Cousins, said school dinners were a cross-generational experience, and that whilst the food tasting added a bit of fun, there was a serious side of the history of why we feed children at school. The exhibition will remain at the museum until February 2027. This has been Teachers Talk Radio News with Joe Fox.
In a bit, we've got a couple of guests on the show, Peter Basford and Andy Skinner, so we'll welcome those in a bit. But just wanted to give an introduction to myself and Mo. So a very experienced teacher. Myself, I've been teaching for 20 odd years now, and currently head of business at a sixth form college. So plenty of experience, and the last few years been on a bit of a journey in rethinking what we do in terms of extracurricular activities, how we work with businesses, and super curricular activities as well. So those activities for higher achieving students and longer term things that they can put on their CVs and their university applications. So over the next few shows, we're going to be focusing on that and have special guests on the show who we've worked with, who can give a kind of a critical analysis of what's going on and how we can incorporate that into education, and importantly, why we're doing it as well. And also, Mo, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. So just a quick introduction to what I do. So I'm a second year ECT. I'm a teacher of business and economics, and part of my role is, and this is a mouthful, sometimes I don't get this right, it's CEAIG. I think that's what it is, CEIAG. They move it around. So I'm responsible for, so within our department, I'm responsible for making sure that these extracurricular activities happen, plan, run, organise. So these are things like guest speakers, events to bring businesses into our setting, that's part of my role. Obviously, most of the time I'm teaching, but and that's something that I've done since the start of the year. And previously, in the previous life, I worked in marketing before becoming a teacher, and sort of saw the power of that sort of industry experience and how that could help. So my passion really for this theme of engaging with businesses comes from that. When I was in school, as I think most of us probably remembers, that the career advice wasn't the best, and there wasn't much experience for me where I was. So I'm really keen to make sure that our students get the best and see that industry experience before they go out into the workplace.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers for that, Mo. And yeah, I think it's really important. It's obviously Ofsted guidelines around ensuring that students have as many opportunities as possible to see what's out there, most importantly. So develop themselves while they're in education, and understand what opportunities exist for them. And that's kind of a passion that we've got and what we're trying to drive forward. A couple of guys that we've worked with very closely are our guests on the show today. So we've got Peter Basford and Andy Skinner. So I'll bring you guys in at this point. And welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having us.
We just we worked obviously quite closely over the last couple of years to develop opportunities for students. And I know you've done quite a lot of work with other education settings as well, other colleges, schools, and things like that. So I just start with the question, I suppose, is why? Why do you do that?
For me, so between Peter and I, and Peter will speak in a minute, we own a number of consultancy businesses and business support businesses. And over the last few years, we secured a contract to deliver startup support in Ipswich Borough District Council. And for me, it's, and as you know, I coach grassroots football outside of it, and it's the ability to connect the students and education with the real world. I mean that in the most possible sense, and exactly as you touched upon there, Mo, earlier, giving the learners the ability to practice some skills in an environment which they wouldn't necessarily get, which opens up a wealth of opportunities for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And Peter, I'll bring you in.
So I think it's the workforce of the future is one way of thinking about this. And the more that we can get employers involved with young people, the more they can spot the talent, of which there is plenty on show, and then maybe they'll develop a relationship that will lead to work in the future. I genuinely believe it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's an awful lot of science behind this that says, if young people can have touch points with 7 business people during the course of their education, that it raises their aspirations. So I want to play my part in that, of hopefully helping some people to talk to business people, and then raise their aspirations about the art of the possible and what they could do in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And have you, either of you, got any examples you can talk about of kind of stuff that you've done that's made that difference, that you've gone into schools, education and what have you, that made that difference in there?
Yeah, if I kick off, Andy. I chair a group called FIT, which is, as you know, the Finance, Insurance and Professional Services Group for Suffolk. And we bring together accountants, solicitors, financial advisors, banks, mortgage brokers, insurance companies. And actually, we've developed a whole work experience program, because the classic old work experience of, somebody knew somebody and they turn up for 2 weeks in the summer, and after about 3 days, the young person's bored because they've been asked to do the same thing over and over again, and how much filing and making of tea can you do? And the business is struggling from a GDPR and a compliance point of view and a data protection, that there's only a certain amount that they can show the young person. So we came together as a group, and our work experience is to visit maybe an insurance broker one day, an accountant one day, a solicitor one day, a bank one day, and actually give the young person experience of a whole range of organisations. And certainly when I talk to some of the big insurance companies like Willis Towers Watson in Ipswich, people think, oh, we'll go to Willis if you want a job in insurance. Actually, they've got more IT people in that building than they've got insurance brokers. Mm-hmm. Just as one example, they've got their own catering team, they've got their own cleaning team. So that organisation, Willis, has a much wider range of opportunities there than just being an insurance broker. And that's part of what we try to get across during these work experience days, that there's much more that can be achieved, and many different roles that can be seen. So they get an experience in a week of 4 or 5 businesses where there's value, and businesses can look after somebody for a day at a time. Much harder if it's 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that would be one example. I know Andy's got some more.
I could give loads, as you know. I could probably chew you off and keep you on air for 12 hours if you wanted. I won't do that, don't worry. But one example that really springs to mind for me is I held an anniversary event for my business in terms of 4 years trading last year. And I don't know if you remember, they were 4 students from your college. And essentially, they created case studies, interviewed people, videoed it, edited it, published it, the whole thing. And for me, it was really, I know that it was really important. And what I really loved about that was they took ownership as well. So they probably didn't realise what they were doing, hopefully, at the time. They ran the whole project. So, yeah, we had some kind of guidance and we were there to support them. But not only did they run the project, they left that session. There was some 200 people that attended, and a number of the businesses and a real mix of industry types actually went on they contacted the students thereafter to use them for future events and future projects. And not only did we give them some real life experience that was valuable towards their education and studies as well, those students had a clear plan in terms of they wanted to run their own media businesses, but weren't really sure how to start it. Well, do you know what better way? You've got 4 or 5 clients there ready to use you. So we're giving them, it creates those opportunities, like Peter says, for them as well, and get them thinking differently. And I know 2 of them in particular have gone on to collaborate and start their business together.
Yeah, and that's a great example, isn't it, of how it works. So giving those students that aspiration to go on and do other stuff, and then giving them the opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And I can, for Chucky, I coach Thurland on Football Close Wanderers, and we're talking to both your college and Suffolk New College as well about placement opportunities for the students. And the easy one is social media, but actually not. We've got some very specific opportunities in there around performance analysis and coaching analysis. Some really quite highly skilled opportunities which the students are filling, and they'll only thrive from that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing. We give those students those opportunities, and we see it time and time again when they do engage with these. You see a different side of these students that maybe we don't get to see in the classroom, and as teachers, it's really powerful to see to see that, and it's only possible because businesses and sort of professionals like you get involved. So we do appreciate it, and I know they do as well. I just wanted to ask a question around. So one of the I guess misconceptions I had when I started my role, which was to engage more with employers, was that I felt like I was being a little bit of a burden to them because I'd worked before. I knew how fast paced they were, and I think some teachers have that hesitation of, we'd like to get involved, we don't know if businesses will want to. Do you have any sort of thoughts on that, and what advice could you give those teachers who may be a bit apprehensive because they think actually the appetite might not be there from businesses?
Yeah, I would say be bold, be really bold, and ask. A business person will soon tell you if they can't. And there are times of the year, seasonality of business where it's a bad time, but most people in business were young once, and they've been through this, maybe 20, 30, 40 years before, but they've been through this, and the vast majority want to help others. So schools can, make that easier for the business person, because the business person are, generally are very busy. They might not know where to go to engage with the school, and they've got 100 other things on their plate. So be bold and reach out, and 90% of the time you'll get a really positive response. I think as well, look for organisations. So approaching organisations like the IOD, the Chamber of Commerce, small business associations, innovation labs, where we are, then the school can engage with multiple businesses in one hit, rather than having to go and pick off one business at a time. And that, you'll undoubtedly get a yes if you go to one of those bigger organisations, because there must be a business there that would want to help.
Yeah, and before I come to you, Andy, I just want to say my advice from what I've learned is find yourself a Peter and Andy, find yourself a super contact who are well sort of connected within the area, because we, as business teachers, we teach about the importance of networking, and it's kind of who you know as well in business. And I think finding those contacts who you can then just go, do you know anyone who can help with this? And Peter and Andy, we've come to you both multiple times, just going, do you know anyone in this area? And every time you try this person, and they've come through. So that's my thing. Andy, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll kind of echo really what Peter said, and what you've just said there as well, Mo, is you're spot on. Most business, in fact, nearly all businesses that I would speak to would actually bend over backwards to support placements and students. There is sometimes a right place, right time element to it, but I think that's both ways as well. I think that's for the students as well as the businesses, because sometimes the opportunities that the businesses might have may not be the right fit for the students, and vice versa. But I do think there's an element of, I think sometimes a lot of the businesses locally don't have those connections and don't know who to talk to, and don't know where to go. So, I know Peter and I do it an awful lot, and there are a few others as well. We do our best and utmost to support, but I think we can do something to build. I don't phrase build those bridges, but establish stronger connections. We were talking about it earlier today. How whatever that looks like, I don't necessarily know the answer, but there are things we can do more and more. Like I suggested, maybe an apprenticeship day at a business location, which gives that exposure to the business and also helps bring those connections and the networks together.
Absolutely, right.
There's some great digital tools out there as well. So certainly locally across Norfolk and Suffolk, we've got iCanBeer.org, which is a great place for young people to reach out and say they're looking for work experience or part-time roles, full-time roles for that matter, weekend jobs, and a place that businesses can go on and advertise those things. That's a great resource, and hopefully other parts of the country have got something similar to that as well. So there's some things that can be done digitally as well if the teachers are struggling to engage.
Hi secondary school teachers, we're Apps for Good, and we give schools like yours free introductory computing courses. Our courses are for everyone, including those who aren't computing teachers, and they're fully equipped with resources mapped to the UK computing curriculums. Independent learning is central to our courses. Your students will develop essential and digital skills by working in teams to create prototype apps. We'll even connect you with industry volunteers to give real-world feedback. Let's empower every young person you teach to shape their future with technology. Speak to us at www.appsforgood.org.
Did you know that every year, half of disadvantaged children who are top attainers at primary school don't go on to achieve top GCSE maths results? At Axiom Maths, we exist to change that. Our fully funded program helps schools nurture young mathematicians through weekly face-to-face maths circles, where pupils tackle challenging and exciting problems outside the national curriculum. With just under £3,000 annual funding, expert training and quality resources, we give schools everything they need to inspire the next generation of mathematical thinkers. Want to make a difference? Visit axiommaths.com today and join over 400 schools delivering maths circles across the UK.
Meet 2025 BET Award winner Kialo EDU, the 100% free tool for thoughtful, inclusive classroom discussion. On Kialo, students contribute instantly and simultaneously to create an interactive map of a discussion, deepening their subject knowledge and enhancing their critical thinking skills. Set tasks, track participation, and provide personalised feedback in just a few clicks. And since it's compatible with all your favourite LMS platforms, it slots seamlessly into your existing workflow. Over 1 million educators and students are already using Kialo to make the world a more thoughtful place. Join them today at kialo-edu.com.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Okay, back to the discussion. And so we're talking around beyond the classroom, and we're looking at how we can incorporate how businesses and schools education can work together to develop students' understanding, to develop skills, and things like that outside the classroom. Yeah, I think my next question, you kind of started to answer it there, Peter and Andy, is kind of what are the first steps do you think, what do you think are the advantages from a business's point of view in working with education? And I know Mo said there part of his worry when he first started this role was wasting people's time or not having them on board. But what are the advantages for businesses specifically to work with education?
Well, as I said before, it's first of all, it's getting out and giving something back. And I mean, we recently had a work experience person from West Suffolk College at the Innovation Labs. And we're really busy there looking after our clients. We've got a website and we've got a LinkedIn page, but actually we knew we were missing out in terms of our knowledge of Instagram and TikTok in particular, and didn't have time to deal with that. But actually, this young person wants to have a job in marketing and media. So they reached out to us, came in, and we said, okay, here's a project for you. Can you help us to get this in place? And first of all, it's great for your CV and for your course, but equally we'll find some money to give you a little bit of money as well. So we've got his knowledge of TikTok and Instagram is far greater than ours. He did something for us in his work experience time that would have taken us about 4 times the length of time to do that. So the business has gained from that, and the young person's he's met probably about a dozen businesses during the course of his time with us. It's built his confidence, and he's got that product that he's created for his CV, which will help him on his journey to working in the future. So it's a real win-win when we get involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I do think I've included myself in this as well. I don't think I've met many business owners or leaders. So I'm talking in the corporate environment as well as SME environment that don't want to give back, or don't want to pay back. And I think it's a really important element of social value that business can bring to education and vice versa. But also, I volunteer an awful lot in other ways mentioned about kind of pretend like a broken record in terms of grassroots coaching, etc. But by walking the talk, for want of a cheesy phrase, but by engaging with the students, my hope is that they will then do that in the future for the future generation as well. And we can really encourage that social value element.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. So I want to expand a little bit with the time that we've got. I want to ask you what is my last question. So we know that grades are really important. I think everyone listening, all the teachers, we know that's our main role, and sometimes we sort of lose track of what else is really important. So what I want to ask you is, from sort of you've been in business for many years. And lots of different businesses and kind of things that they sort of need. What do you think that businesses need the most, as well as the really good qualifications, which is what we work on in classrooms, that you see that there's a real appetite for from businesses? That could be skills, it could be knowledge from young people that maybe they didn't in the past, but as you mentioned about social media and things like that might be now changing, and that through these kind of activities where we engage with employees that we could give to our students.
For me, it's really simple. It's it's the attitude and you say the people skills. Yeah, you can. I have a really strong beliefs on this. You can learn any kind of education. You can learn anything. Yeah, it might take people different periods of time and people learn in different ways. But if you can communicate well with people and treat people the right way and behave the right way, you're going to get much further. And that's two ways, both in terms of the business community and the students.
Yeah, attitude. The first thing I'm looking for is someone with the right attitude, because I can teach them the skills over time if they've got the right attitude. If you've got somebody that's got a poor attitude or lack of interest, it's really hard. So as much as the pieces of paper and the qualifications are really important, what I'm looking for outside of that is what else have they done? What's their breadth of view? Have they done some volunteering, some work experience, something that's in the area that we're recruiting for, that shows some more breadth? And then I'm looking at their enthusiasm and their energy to come and get involved.
I have a phrase which, again, the football boys take the I nearly swore then, sorry, I'm not allowed to swear. Take the mickey out of me for beep machine. But actually, I say this to a lot of clients who work as well, and it really resonates. Hard work will beat ability when ability doesn't work hard. Nice. Whatever the environment you're in, that's applicable in my
Gents, some really great advice there, and some of your great ideas. I'll ask one question. If you were to give a student one bit of advice, what would it be? Hard question.
So I think in their time in education, it's clearly work really hard, learn as much as you can, because it will stand you in really good stead in the future. But think about what else outside of that. If I was being slightly cynical, I think a lot of business people, particularly those of an older age, they did GCSE. Well, they did O levels and A levels. And the way things are now with different qualifications, different levels, they've sort of lost a bit of track of that. So the pieces of paper that someone comes to them with may or may not resonate. There's a little bit of distrust of some of the system. So it's what else have you got on your CV? How can you show me the sort of person you are? And that will get you as far as the qualifications. The qualifications on a CV will probably get you to interview. Once you're in interview, it's what else? What else can you bring? And using questioning techniques like STAR to in the way that you answer questions can really get you a long way.
Yeah, I guess I would say never give up. And if you experience failure or you don't necessarily achieve the academic grades that you want, or etc., this might sound strange saying this to teachers. So what? Actually, there is always an alternative. There is always something you can do. Take a different path. My eldest daughter was not very academic. 4 times in English. Went on to be a healthcare assistant in a residential care home. Decided she wanted to go work for the NHS. Thought she was mad. In 2 years, she's now qualified nurse without any university, college education, all from hands-on application. And I couldn't be prouder of her, but also as an example to people. She's now a qualified nurse at the age of 24. You can do it in different ways. She was really clear what she wanted to achieve and was determined to do it.
Yeah, and it's having that opportunity, isn't it, that's provided her with that. She's gone on that path and found out what she wants to do.
And she created that opportunity though by that not giving up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add something to what Peter said about how there's a bit of a disconnect between businesses and sort of young people, and actually through this engagement, not only so we've talked about the benefits to the students, but actually if more employees engage with young students, and every time I see them do that, my students that I teach all the time amaze me, and I want more and more businesses to see that the younger people who sometimes get unfair stick for and labels for the way that they are, actually when they meet them and see them, that can help change the perceptions that they might have, and actually when they recruit next time, they might not go, I don't want anyone too young because whatever, and they'll actually consider, no, I do want someone young because I've seen what they're about, and change that misconceptions that they might have.
Yeah, I agree totally, Mo. I mean, when I've been in, you can go around the room and go, yeah, that one, they've got something. And yes, it's very raw, the young people, but there's some fantastic students you've got there. And by being a business person that, has the privilege of coming in from time to time, you can spot them and you can see them develop over the course of the year when you come back in as well, about how their confidence is building, how their knowledge is building and how they're developing. So it's a real privilege to get the chance to come and see them.
Great. Gents, thanks very much for your company this afternoon. Peter, Andy, really do appreciate it. Mo and I are going to chat now about kind of some of the stuff that we've done in college. So I'll bid you to farewell, but thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you both.
Yeah.
Have a good rest of your evening.
And you. Cheers.
Bye.
Okay. Mo, we're going to talk a little bit now about kind of some of the stuff that we've done in our roles at college and with schools and things like that, to kind of give some ideas of some of the stuff that's been successful and some of the lessons I think we've learned over the past few years. So one of the main things that we've tried to do, we've packaged it up, so calling it the futures program, so looking at students' futures, and we found that traditionally we did what we've always done. So we would get guest speakers into classrooms, and they would speak to a class of students about their opportunities, their business, or speak to them about something that they're learning about in that lesson. And what we found was when they're talking about opportunities, I don't know, a third of the class, or not even that, would be interested in what they've got to say, and the rest are there because we've made them do that. So we've kind of turned that on its head in the last few years with some great success. And one of the things, Mo, that you've been leading on this year is business networking breakfasts. So something that lots of businesses do in the real world to engage people, to bring communities together. And we've come up with Mo's come up with the opportunity there to link students and businesses. So Mo, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And before I talk about the business breakfast, I just want to highlight that, and I think people listening to this will also be able to sort of think about their own sort of practices with this and see similarities. So we first got businesses in and took a class and just said, right, talk to this class. As Chris said, that didn't really work. Then we thought, okay, let's make it optional. Let's get them in for a lunchtime a chat. Students sign up, it's optional. And that didn't work either because we only had about 2 or 3 students interested. And as we were saying earlier about how it can be a little bit awkward because you want businesses to come and get the best because you don't. The worst thing is when a business comes and no students turn up, and that's happened. Yeah, to me. So, so the business breakfast was okay. We need to do something else, and as Chris said, so the idea of it is we invite businesses, local businesses. We also invite some universities that are close to us as well, and we also invite our students to this networking event. And typically, we start off with a couple of talks from key speakers for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and then the whole thing is about 2 hours long, and we do it first thing in the morning. And for the rest of the time, the students then network with the businesses, and as in the name, there's breakfast involved as well, which everyone loves a free breakfast. We get a good turnout. And the last one that we had was in this sort of autumn term, and we had 25 businesses and universities attend, and we had about 35, 40 students who also attended. So it's and it was great to see the students have that opportunity to really talk to businesses. And it was one of those moments I was talking about earlier where I was seeing my students who were quiet in the lessons, who didn't really, talk too much. But as soon as they were in front of businesses, you saw a different side. And it was really great. And the feedback we get from that event from businesses is incredible. And so we've got another one coming up after Easter, and already the numbers for that is even bigger. So we're hoping that will continue to grow, and that just gives people the opportunity to sit down with these businesses one to one and go, right, I'm interested in your area. Tell me about it. Tell me the options. How do I get there? What are you looking for in your applications? And really pick their brains. And I think last time we had 3 or 4 students from that event that got either work experience or offered a sort of an interview or something like that. So, and all the students they enjoy it, and they have that that one to one that they wouldn't get anywhere else.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about, because our setting is a sixth form, so sort of older students who are potentially going into work and things like that. But on the back of that, what I've seen is we've been doing this now for several years, and lots of secondary schools are now doing a very similar thing in the area, so that they're opening it up. And it gives students at that age, at sort of 14, 15, 16 years old, that aspiration. So they're talking to business leaders. They may not have spoken to someone in kind of business before like that, in that sort of setting. So it gives them those public speaking skills, but also it's that aspiration. Okay, understanding what opportunities exist out there, what businesses they can go and work for, asking questions. We'll quite often have like preset questions or ideas for students to ask around, okay, what do you want to see from me? What can I be doing over the next few years that's going to make me stand out? And I think that's been a really important part of it.
Yeah, and just for those who, because I thought this when I first got it, where do I even start? And all I did was we had some contacts, luckily, that we worked with before. But for anyone who wants to do a similar thing, you just need to book a space. Obviously, get the permissions, all the fun stuff within your settings. But just create an email and just copy and paste, send it to lots of different businesses. So on this day, this is what we're doing. Your opportunity to talk to some of the young talent in the area, because as we said earlier, businesses are interested potentially to recruit or work closely with us. So yeah, it was just that, and then send the invites out to the students, and there's not a huge amount of work that needs to be apart from. You just need to send the emails and be prepared to be ignored by a few. But it's a great feeling when you start seeing that Microsoft Forms, more and more people fill it in. So yeah, anyone who wants to try it, it's really not a huge amount of work on top of what.
Sorry, Mo. The important thing is what you were saying earlier when we had Peter and Andy on the show, that it's about making that linking with your local business advisors, going to your local chamber of commerce and contacting them, finding that contact with them, and they do a lot of the work for us now. So we started to build those relationships with those people, and they do a lot of the work for us, and get a lot of the contacts for those breakfasts.
As with everything, and I think if anyone who's thinking about taking this sort of theme that we're on, employee engagement, I think the business breakfast is a good place to start with that. Chris, I want to ask you about something that you did prior to me taking on this role, which was a employability and leadership conference.
Yeah, absolutely. So this kind of leads on from what I was saying earlier, of rather than having business speakers come in and talk to a class. Now, we're at a fairly large sixth form, so we might have several classes going on at the same time, and only a certain select number of students can get that. So what we decided to do was have a day off curriculum, and all the students are off lessons, off timetable, and we had an employability conference. So what that was those people that initially we developed that link through the business breakfast, they then we approach the idea with them, and they come in and they do talks. Now, the businesses want to do this because they've got apprenticeships, they've got roles to fill, they've got CSR, corporate social responsibility to achieve, and they really wanted to come in and speak to the students. So they put on sort of 30-minute workshops, presentations for the students on lots of different things. And local universities came in and spoke about university life, how to apply for student finance, personal statements within that. Businesses come in and talk about their opportunities. And then we have other people from the community might come in and talk about how to write a CV, do a CV workshop, and things like that. And the glory of it is there was, in the morning, we have sort of 3 slots, and have these talks repeated, and the students sign up just using Microsoft Forms or something like that. They just sign up to whichever ones they're interested in. And the biggest fear, I think, one of the biggest fears when organising these sorts of events is what happens if people don't turn up, or what happens if the students aren't interested and they're yawning away, or they're rude, or what have you. Then what we have is a situation of they've signed up to it, they're interested, so you've got that confidence that they're actually going to engage and ask questions to them, and we've seen a lot better results as a result of that.
Yeah, and the conference. So I'm in the process of planning one, and that one is a little bit more involved. But as Chris said, it's a good way to address that thing that we talked about earlier, which is the thing that we see in the sixth form setting, which is the lack of ambition and goal, and that's an issue. As you know, teachers who are listening, you'll know that a student who isn't motivated and doesn't have ambition, it's really difficult to motivate and get to do the work and achieve the qualification. So through both of those events, then the aim that we have and we hope to do is to inspire these people, these young students that we have for careers, and then that way, then we can start to build that sort of the route they need to take to get to that destination.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, we had our 2 guests on earlier, and one of the things that we've done with them, and Mo, you've kind of led on, is this link with mentoring for actual qualifications that they're doing. So particularly we'll talk about kind of BTEC business that we run, the level 3 and level 2 BTEC business that we run, but really that could apply to any subject, couldn't it? So what are the sort of things you've been doing with that?
Yeah, so for one of the units, and this is the second year we'll be doing this. This might not apply to all subjects, but hopefully it will give a good idea of the kind of how we can incorporate curriculum. So for BTEC students, so we have a unit where the students have to write a business plan. Now, what we did last year was using Peter and Andy and their contacts. We booked a session with them and their contacts. I don't know how many came, Chris. Do you remember how many came?
So the good thing about that is we had 8 different mentors that came in. They didn't all come in at the same time, so they kind of rotated it when they could come in. So yeah, it worked quite well because there were so many. We'd have sort of 3 or 4 in at a time, working around their schedules.
And what we would do in the lessons would, without the support of these external sort of mentors, was go through their coursework, help them with their business plan, and give them advice. Now, one of the things that I've heard a couple of times in the past is, as a business teacher, well, you can't be that good if you are a teacher and you're not a business person. So, and having these external speakers come in, the guests come in, what they did was they sat them down and looked at the business plan, offered them some support, and these mentors who came in are the people who have done this before, who have written business plans, who have secured funding. So these are people who had done it before. So they got that real life practical element of it. And we're doing the same again this year, where we're going to get mentors in to look at those business plans, but we're going to add to it even more this year, which is we're hoping to get them to actually do a Dragon's Den style pitch, where they will pitch their business idea and their business plan to potential sort of we'll have to find people that are sort of experiencing that, but to judge almost their presentation. And this also is, so that part of it isn't part of the BTEC, but the business plan is. So for their actual assignments and to pass the course, they need to do that. So rather than just doing a normal lesson where we do it, getting those external speakers in to help them with their coursework, we found that a good way to integrate the curriculum in with this as well.
Yeah, and I think we maybe got it easy as the subjects that we deliver, sort of business and economics and things like that. But what that's created is across other schools that are feeder schools that we work with, and across other departments within our own college, is then that breeds other ideas, that breeds other businesses want to work with other areas as well. So that's kind of spread. So I think there could be an idea that, well, we teach business, of course we should be integrating with business, but actually what we've done through that is spread this out, and the benefits that it has to other subjects has been massive. And if anything, I think other subjects maybe need this more than even our subject areas, because if you consider things like English, I spoke to the head of English the other day, and generally the what he's saying is students who study English, a lot of the students don't know what they want to go on to. They can't link careers to the English subject, and that's putting students off studying the subject, or it's meaning that there's low motivation in it as well. So I think it's really important, and that's what we kind of tried to do with this is with the business breakfast and the conferences and what have you, is to expand that, so the businesses are talking to students from all different subjects to get that across.
Yeah, absolutely, and our students get that theory in business of, and most of the teachers that work in our department have worked in industry before, so we can give them that practical advice. But as you said, Chris, the importance of this for other departments that don't have this sort of obvious link to industry, because ultimately all of our students, no matter what they do, they will work for a business. Everything is a business nowadays. Everything's run like a business. So for them to have that experience of that professional working environment, or talking to people who are in the industry, is we can't sort of understate how important that is. And I think it may be, for those people who are listening who want to do this, maybe have a conversation with your business teachers and see what they do, and if there's things that even you could recommend for their departments, because ultimately we are all working for the same goal of giving our students the best sort of possible step up to wherever they're going next, and this is a core part of that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe listening and you're in kind of primary, secondary schools, what I would say, if you haven't got that department, or we haven't got people within the schools, as many won't, who can do that for you, is link up with local sixth forms, local colleges, local universities, to do this sort of stuff. They have the space, they have the facilities, and they want you. They want students through the door. They want to be working with you. We're working with a local primary school at the moment. So they've asked us to come in and do kind of Dragon's Den style things with them, and we're going to be taking in some of our business contacts as a result of that. And I mean, these kids are 7, 8 years old, and it's just starting to get that idea, them thinking about what is out there, what is the potential for them, and getting that motivation, and hopefully that will bring results for them, and it's good recruitment for us, if we're honest. So bringing those students on board and working with them from an early age.
Yeah, and just to expand on something you said, Chris, we all have this. Okay, so how many of our students are going to university? How many going on to do this and the other? And our instinct is to go, okay, well, we want, let's say, students, we need to give them more information about universities. Let's get the universities in. But actually, some students know they're going to go to university. I was one of these people. I knew I wanted to go to university, but I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. So having this career link and giving them a career goal, and then showing them the route there, because we are moving more sort of, we know now university isn't the only option, and there's lots of other good opportunities coming up. So if we change our focus from, how many students can we get into university, how many students can we get into degree apprenticeships, or work, whatever it might be, actually we need to make sure all of our students have a target, have an aspiration, and then work backwards and figure out, okay, what do we need to do to get there? And I think these kind of business breakfast conferences, engagement with employers, giving them experience, and we'll talk about it in future episodes as well, what else we can do, will help with that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, that kind of brings us pretty much to the end of the show. So massive thanks to our two guests earlier, so Peter and Andy, and they spoke about why they work with us and why they work with education and schools, and why businesses want to work with schools of all ages and wherever they are. So many thanks to those. Mo and I will be back, so we're going to continue this sort of theme, and we'll look at it kind of more critically. This is kind of an introduction to some of the stuff that we do, and we'll look at kind of ideas and more critical around our theme of beyond the classroom, and what we can be doing more of to engage our students, to push them on, ultimately improve the outcomes for them. So yeah, we will return in a few weeks with that. Mo, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris, and thank you everyone for listening, and hope to see you in the future episodes.
Great stuff. Thank you.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.